Joining us now to help us better understand these numbers is Dan Eberhart, an economic expert and the author of the book, The Switch, America's Global Energy Renaissance. So Dan, today we finally see some new figures coming from the Labor Department. It suggests maybe, as we heard, kind of mixed reactions, but it does show that there may be some growth as far as getting people back into work, away from unemployment. What is your takeaway from the figures?
Well, overall, I think it's great news. I mean, it's not where we would have wanted to be in February, but look, this is the fourth largest jobs gain, or fourth month in a row. We've got 1.4 million new jobs. Unemployment's fallen to 8.4%, so another 2 percentage points or so. And several of the different, subsectors of unemployment are also down. So I think that this is something to be excited about. We definitely still have some work to do, though.
And Dan, you and I have been talking about that there's going to be this kind of back and forth over the next couple of weeks. Some states will start locking down a little bit as cases surge. They'll start relaxing those restrictions, of course, as they start getting a better handle of the crisis. Does that seem to be where we are right now? And do you think that's where we'll be going into November as well?
Yeah, I think it's really muddy in terms of some, places like New York City are not really moving, not really showing a lot of job growth. But in the middle of the country, there's been a tremendous amount of job growth. I think we're going to see an awful lot of unevenness. But overall, I think this is positive signs that we had a healthy economy in February, and I think that with a lot of the leadership that Trump has done and the White House has done, and other good news points, we are slowly creeping back to where we need to be, and that this is good news. What we really need to look for now is to keep this momentum up so we can have more jobs grow in September, more job growth in September and October, and looking ahead, and we can hopefully get back to something like a number that's under 5.5% would really be a healthy economy again. And I think we've got the momentum to do that right now.
And I do want to build on that a little bit because, as you mentioned, back in February, I mean, we had one of the strongest economies in recent history. I mean, it doesn't matter what side of the political spectrum you're on. I mean, we saw unemployment at lows. We saw the stock market at highs. I mean, it was just a very good economy. Of course, then the coronavirus pandemic hit. And I think we now have the luxury of hindsight to look back and say things like the PPP program, things of that nature kind of helped, I don't want to say stimulate the economy, but at least sustain it for a little bit, prevent people from just going on unemployment. But now looking forward, as you mentioned right there, is there reason to suggest anything we can do to continue this growth? Is it another economic package in your mind, or is it something like deregulation, tax cuts? What do you think?
Well, first of all, the PPP program was a tremendous success, and I call it a bridge to back to economic growth is how I kind of think about it. But what we need, I think we need a little bit more stimulus, but we've got to not spend too much of our future. We really don't want to be burdened, for a generation with higher tax increases. So I don't want to spend too much. What I would like to see is some targeted tax cuts and some minor economic stimulus, and then regulatory rollback that really frees red tape and reduces red tape, so we can get some infrastructure projects off the ground. And hopefully that will be a tailwind that will bring us into 2021, and we can get back to some economic growth numbers that in January or February of this year we would have liked, not just, not numbers that just look good given the corona situation.
And of course, when you talk about deregulation or targeted tax cuts, a lot of people will think that that is a conservative type of policy. But I think it's also worth pointing out that when we look at the two economic policies that are being put out right now, for example, Joe Biden wants to invest almost $700 billion in different sectors in order to kind of stimulate the economy, bring U.S. manufacturing back to the United States. Many people saying that it's similar to what President Trump has been asking to do, kind of bring manufacturing back to the U.S., although he's kind of said that he wants to do it in a different way, through cutting taxes, making sure that companies want to invest here in the United States. But the Biden campaign is going that more stimulus route. The Trump campaign is going the more deregulatory type of route, tax cutting route. Is there any inference to suggest which one would be more successful?
Well, yeah, look, I think that Trump, if you look at Trump's 3.5 years and Obama-Biden administration's 8 years, clearly the economy grew faster under Trump. And, under Obama-Biden, the previous administration really had the slowest economic recovery post-World War II that we've experienced in America. So I really like the Trump stimulus program and Trump's cutting red tape and cutting taxes to boost economic growth. The problem with Biden's plan is really that Biden's plan could have been pulled off the shelf in the summer of 2019, pre-COVID. I find it completely tone deaf to, we need to preserve the jobs that still exist, and we need to build on that with a very quick ROI. And I think that Joe Biden's economic plan with this Green New Deal, renewable energy jobs, and all this kind of stuff is very aspirational, but it's not what we need right now. It's the wrong plan for the wrong time. We need a plan that's focused on preserving jobs, that existed before COVID as best we can, and then creating new jobs. And we really need that low hanging fruit right now. And I think that Joe Biden is focused on aspirational issues that are really tone deaf to the current environment. We need job growth now. We don't need aspirational things that might work in the future, because the returns are too far out, and we need them now. And I think it's not appropriate given where the economy is at right now. We've just kind of found our footing. We need to build from that. We need trying to make new industry soar is not appropriate for us.
No, and I think that's a good point as well, because we can talk about growing the economy once we get the people who lost their jobs back to work. I mean, we're not necessarily at the point where we can talk about just expanding what we had before. When we're at a point where, I mean, we still have millions of Americans out of jobs. We still have the unemployment number, as you said, much higher than it needs to be. We need to get the recovery under control, I think, first, before we start looking about infusing money into other sectors and trying to maybe shift the money in the U.S. economy to other places. We're still at the point where there's people who don't know how they're paying their rent at the end of the month. They don't know how they're putting dinner on their tables. I think that's what we need to get under control first. But Dan Eberhart,
exactly.
I want to get you to your last point.
Quickly, I was just going to say, we need to heal before we start trying to set goals and improve upon where we were in February. And that's where I think that Joe Biden's economic plan is just tone deaf for what America needs right now.
No, I think that's an excellent point, because you can talk to people and they'll tell you exactly that. They want to get back to work. They want to get their paychecks. Then we can start dealing with the efficiency, if you will, of carbon emissions, things of that nature. But Dan Eberhart, I appreciate you coming on the show as always, breaking down where we stand in this economic climate. Thank you.